The stars blinked, and they screamed. Across the galaxy, ships lost power. Space stations turned cold. War fleets stopped moving. Communication lines went silent. No one understood what had happened, but every species felt it. A silent scream echoed through the dark, making even the bravest warriors shake. The most powerful empires froze. The universe itself seemed to hold its breath in the Andromeda sector. The Krill Empire's grand battle fleet, 10,000 warships strong, drifted helpless in space. Admiral Zorn, the leader of the Krill forces, tried to shout orders, but his voice sounded thin. His crew stared at him with wide, fearful eyes. Their ship's lights flickered. Weapons refused to respond. On the planet Unshaken, the High Council of the Racker Dominion gathered inside their stone fortress. These were beings known for crushing entire civilizations in days. But now, they trembled. The council chamber, carved deep inside a mountain, felt cold and lifeless. What? What was that? One of the counselors whispered. No one answered across the galaxy. Every race, every empire, every soldier felt it. A power unlike anything they had known. It's a silent warning. But on Earth, nothing stopped. The cities of humanity glowed bright. Ships moved through the skies. Soldiers trained. Scientists worked. It was as if the scream in the stars never touched them at the edge of human space. Deep beyond the last known star maps, a single warship moved in silence, the Uns Vanguard. Captain Raynor stood on the bridge, arms behind his back. His eyes stared out at the black void. Around him, his crew worked quietly. They did not show fear. They did not panic. The Vanguard was Earth's most secret ship. Even the Galactic Council did not know it existed. Built-in shadows, armed with weapons? No one had ever seen. But that wasn't what made it deadly. Below the main deck, hidden deep inside the ship, was a sealed chamber. Thick metal walls. No cameras. No way in. Only Raynor had access, but even he had never opened it. Beside him, First Officer Hale spoke softly. The pulse. Every race is panicking. Reports coming in say half the fleets have gone dark.
Nations.
Dead. Ships vanished. Raynor gave a small nod. And us? All systems normal, sir? No effects? Raynor turned his head slightly. Project Sentinel? Hale's face tightened. Still secure? Containment holding? For a moment, the bridge fell silent. The quiet hum of the engines filled the air. Raynor's voice came calm, steady. Course. Done. Path to null space. Null space. The center of the disturbance. The place where the silent scream began. No one spoke of it. Most races called it a dead zone. Some believed it was cursed. Others said it was where stars went to die. For Raynor and the Vanguard, it was a mission. They were going straight into it. In the lower decks, Engineer Marks watched the sealed chamber. His sweat ran down his face. He wasn't supposed to be here. But curiosity burned inside him. He placed his hand on the cold metal wall. It felt warm, alive. A soft voice echoed in his mind. You're close. Marks jumped back. His heart slammed in his chest. He looked around. The corridor was empty. Who's there? Whispered. Silence. He swallowed hard and stepped back. He had heard it. A voice. Inside his head, above on the bridge, Hale watched the data screens. A small red dot appeared on the map. Captain contact. Krill warship. Coming fast. Raynor gave a slow nod. Let them come. The Krill ship broke out of hyperspace, its black hole reflecting the starlight. It was 3 times bigger than the Vanguard. Weapons locked on. Raynor watched the screen. No fear. A voice came over the comms, a deep, growling sound. This is Admiral Zorn of the Krill Empire. Surrender your vessel. Raynor tapped the comm. His voice calm. No. A moment of silence. Then the Krill opened fire. Blasts of plasma shot toward the Vanguard. Deadly, impossible to dodge. On the bridge, no one moved. Raynor gave a quiet command. Release it. Hale's eyes widened. Sir, now. Hale pressed a button. Deep. Inside the ship, the sealed chamber hissed. Marks, standing near it, froze as the door slid open with a soft hum. A figure stepped out. It was human-shaped, but its skin glowed faintly. Its eyes burned soft white. Its presence filled the corridor. With a strange calm and a deep, bone-chilling power, it looked at Marx and smiled. The krill ship fired. The blasts reached the vanguard and vanished. No explosion, no impact. The weapon simply disappeared into nothing. On the krill ship, Admiral Zorn stared in. Shock. His crew screamed. Systems failed. Weapons went offline. One by one, the krill soldiers collapsed. The ship's lights flickered. It died. In seconds, the mighty warship turned into a dark, floating tomb. On the Vanguard's bridge, Hale whispered, "What did we just do?" Rayner's eyes stayed on the screen, his voice soft. "We didn't do anything." Hale looked at him. Rayner met his eyes. It did. Below, the glowing figure walked down the corridor, passing Marx. It touched his shoulder. Gently, Marx felt a warmth spread through his body. His fear vanished. His mind filled with strange visions, stars dying, worlds born, galaxies spinning, all inside a single heartbeat. The being whispered, soft as a dream, "Fear not. You are the chosen." Marx dropped to his knees. He could not speak. The being walked forward, calm, unstoppable. On the bridge, Hal watched the reports, "Captain. The krill ship. It's gone." Rayner nodded. Hale whispered, "We didn't fire a shot." Rayner said nothing. He looked toward the main screen. At the dark void ahead in the heart of null space, something waited. The being from the chamber stood beside him. No one saw it enter the bridge. Rayner turned slowly. The being smiled softly. "It's time." Rayner felt a strange peace, gave a small nod. "We're ready." Outside stars shifted, the void seemed to open, and the Vanguard moved forward, straight into the unknown. Behind them, the galaxy trembled in fear, but humanity stood unshaken. The Vanguard moved deeper into the dark. Stars disappeared behind them, as the space around the ship grew darker, heavier, almost like a living thing watching them. On the bridge, the crew worked quietly. No one spoke loud. No one dared. "First officer." Hully kept looking at the screens. No signals, no enemy ships. Just silent space. But Hully felt something else. Strange weight pressing on his chest. Like the darkness outside was trying to get inside him. He looked at Captain Rayner. The captain stood still, his eyes locked on the black void ahead. Calm, and beside him, the glowing figure. It looked like a human, but wasn't. Its skin glowed. Soft silver. Its eyes shone white. It didn't blink. It didn't breathe. It just stood there, watching. The crew tried not to look at it, but they couldn't stop feeling it. The strange calm, mixed with something cold deep in their bones. Rayner finally spoke. Report Hale swallowed. No enemy contacts. Null space dead ahead. "We'll reach the center in 12 hours, Rayner nodded. "Good." Hull hesitated. "Sir, the being, do we have orders about it?" Rayner looked at the figure. It turned its head slightly, as if it heard every word. "We watch. We don't control it. That's the order." Hale frowned. "But who gave that order?" Rayner stayed silent. Its eyes did not move from the stars. In the lower decks, engineer Marx sat alone. His hands shook. His mind spun with images, planets, war, creatures he didn't know, faces of people from other galaxies. He felt them all inside his head, and one word kept whispering in his mind. "Sentinel." He stood up slowly. He had to see it again. He needed answers. Marx walked to the sealed chamber. The door now stood open. Inside, it's empty, but the walls glowed faintly, soft waves of white light running across the metal. A quiet voice came behind him. "Looking for me?" Marx spun around. The figure stood there. Close. Marx froze. His voice cracked. "What? Are you?" The being tilted its head slightly. Its voice soft like a dream, a memory of what's to come. Marx stared. Why are you here? What do you want? The being smiled gently. I want nothing. I am here because you called. Marx felt his heart pound. We called you? The being nodded slowly. Long ago, before your stars were born. You called. Marx shook his head. I don't understand. The being leaned closer, its voice a soft whisper. You will. On the bridge, a sudden alarm rang out. Hell, jumped, Captain. We're picking up something. Raynor looked at the screen. A shadow. A massive shape in the darkness. Bigger than a planet. Moving slowly toward them. No readings. No heat. No signals. Hale's hand shook. What is that? Raynor stared. Put it on screen. The main screen showed a black shape, darker than space itself. Moving, breathing, watching. The crew fell silent. The being on the bridge smiled softly. We're here. The shadow moved closer. Suddenly a voice echoed through the ship, not from the comms. Not from the speakers, from inside their minds. Why do you come here, children of the spark? The crew gasped. Hale clutched his head. Marx fell to his knees. Raynor felt the words in his bones, but he stayed standing. He answered, his voice calm. We came because we are not afraid. The shadow's voice rumbled. We know that is why you are chosen. The being beside Raynor smiled. Hale gasped. Captain, are we talking to it? The being spoke softly. We're speaking. To the first, Marx's voice cracked over the comms. The first, what? The shadow's voice echoed again. The first guardian. The keeper of balance. The ender of fear. Raynor took a slow breath. And why us? The shadow answered. Because the galaxy fears everything but you. You fear nothing. You walk in the dark, shaken. You are the sword we have waited. For the crew stood frozen. The being turned to Raynor. It begins now. Outside, the shadow stretched, wrapping around the Vanguard like a soft mist. Systems flashed. Lights flickered, but no one panicked. A deep calm spread through every human on the ship. The voice whispered once more. You are ours, and we are yours. The shadow vanished. The stars returned. The darkness faded. On the bridge, Hale looked. Around what just happened? Raynor gave a soft smile. We were chosen. Hale stared at him. Chosen for what? The being answered. To stand where all others fall? The crew felt it. The mission had changed. They weren't just going into the dark. They were now part of it. The Vanguard moved forward. The galaxy waited, and humanity stood unshaken. The Vanguard sailed through space, smooth and silent. The black void of null space faded behind them. Head, the normal stars of the galaxy shone once more, but nothing felt normal. On the bridge, the crew worked in silence. No one spoke about what had happened. They all felt it. A bond inside them. Something new. Something alive. Captain Raynor sat in his command chair, eyes fixed on the stars. The glowing figure stood beside him, silent as always. First Officer Hale watched the sensors. His hands moved fast over the controls, checking every reading again and again. Everything showed normal. But Hale knew nothing was normal now. Captain Hale said quietly, We have movement ahead. One contact. Coming. Fast. Raynor stood. Krill Hale shook his head. No. Unknown. I've never seen this ship before. Raynor walked closer. On screen, the main screen showed a ship racing toward them. Long, sharp design, black as shadow, not like any known race. Its engines burned dark red. Hale frowned. Weapons locked. On us. Raynor didn't blink. They'll come. Hull whispered, You sound sure. Raynor gave a soft smile. I am. The enemy ship charged closer. It fired. Streams of burning energy shot toward the Vanguard. On the bridge, the glowing figure stepped forward. It lifted one hand, calm, slow. The energy blasts stopped mid-space. They hung there for a second, then vanished. Hale's mouth dropped. Open what? Rayner stayed silent. The enemy ship shook. Sparks burst from its engines. Scream echoed faintly over the combs. A sound no one could explain. The ship cracked in half. Split like soft metal. Then it was gone. Hale whispered. It didn't even touch it. The glowing figure lowered its hand. Its soft voice filled the air. Fear strikes fastest when it meets no fear. Rayner gave a nod. Another enemy. The figure turned its glowing eyes to him. An old fear. One of many. Hal whispered. Who was that? Rayner looked at him. One of those who think they rule the dark. Hal stared. And we don't. The figure spoke gently. You are not rulers. You are the shield. Marks's voice cracked over. The comms, Captain? There's more. Rayner tapped the comm. Report. Multiple contacts. Everywhere. Whole fleets. They're moving toward Earth. Hale's eyes went wide. The galaxy. They think we're a threat. Rayner's voice stayed calm. They're right. The glowing figure looked at the stars, and now they will come. In the far sectors of the galaxy, fleets moved. Ships from dozens of races, Krill, Racker, Sarati, even old enemies gathered together. They all had one target. Us. Because now, they feared humans more than anything else. On the bridge, Hale watched the data flood in. His voice shook. It's a war. They're coming in full force. Rayner gave a quiet nod. Good. Hale stared at him. Good. Rayner met his eyes. It means they'll come together, and we won't have to hunt them down one by one. The crew fell silent. The weight of the moment pressed on them, but the fear never came. The glowing figure spoke softly. You stand, because you refuse to fall. Rayner gave a small smile. And we always will. Out at the edge of known space, the enemy fleets gathered. Thousands of warships. Millions of soldiers. But in the middle of them, a single human ship drifted. The Vanguard? No allies. There's no backup. Just a handful of humans, and something else beside them. The galaxy waited for a war, but Rayner knew. War wasn't coming. Something far bigger was about to begin, and humanity would stand unshaken. The fleets of the galaxy stood together. Thousands of warships from every empire, every species, lined up at the edge of Earth's space. Their weapons charged. Their soldiers ready. The leaders of these fleets had never trusted each other. They had fought wars, betrayed allies, and crushed weaker races. But now, they stood side by side, because now, they feared the same enemy. The humans. On the command ship of the Krill Empire, Admiral Zorn stared at the battle map. His eyes cold. Voice sharp. All ships, prepare for full strike. We end this before they unleash, whatever they unleashed before. The Racker Dominion's commander, High Warlord Tresk, growled over the comms. No mercy. No prisoners. Out. We wiped them out to the last human. Across the fleets, soldiers cheered. But none of them knew. The humans were already inside their ranks, on board. The Vanguard, Captain Rayner, stood at the center of the bridge. His eyes locked on the star map showing the enemy fleets moving. Hale reported quietly, they're closing in. Surrounding Earth? They're blocking all escape routes. Rayner gave a slow nod. Perfect. Hale stared. Sir, there's no way we can fight all of them. Rayner turned to him. We don't need to fight them. Hale frowned. Then, what? The glowing figure stepped forward, its voice soft. We end their will to fight. Below deck, Marks worked in silence, staring at the strange symbols glowing on the walls of the sealed chamber. The symbols pulsed softly, in rhythm. With his heartbeat, he didn't understand them. But somehow, he knew what they meant. They were a warning and a promise. Marks whispered to himself, we don't destroy the enemy. We destroy their fear. On the Krill command ship, Admiral Zorn barked orders. Fire all weapons. A wave of deadly energy launched toward Earth. Plasma, missiles, railguns, every kind of weapon fired at once. The sky around Earth filled with death. On the Vanguard's bridge, Hale whispered, Captain, it fired everything. Rayner gave a soft smile. Good. The glowing figure lifted its hand in space, right before the weapons hit Earth. They stopped. Everything froze in the air. Missiles, plasma blasts, deadly beams. Then, they faded. Gone. The enemy fleet stared in horror. On the Krill ship, Admiral Zorn shouted, "What happened? Why didn't they hit?" Racker flagship Warlord Tresk slammed his fist on the control panel. Fire again. But their systems were dead. Weapons refused to work. Shields dropped. Engines powered down. One by one, every ship went silent. On the Vanguard, Hale gasped. There, shutting down. The glowing figure nodded. Fear speaks louder than weapons. Marx's voice crackled over Combs. "Captain, I think it's time." Rayner smiled slightly. "Yes, it is." The Vanguard moved forward, alone, into the center of the enemy fleets. No one stopped them. No one could. On board every enemy ship, a human figure appeared on their main screens. Not Rayner. It's not Hale, not any real human. A shadowed figure. With glowing white eyes, its voice echoed inside every mind. "You stand here, united in fear. You came for war. You brought your hate. But you forgot one thing. We are not afraid of you." Across the fleets, soldiers dropped their weapons. Crews froze. Commanders fell silent. The voice spoke again. "We did not come to destroy you. We came to remind you what fear really means." And then the lights on every ship flickered. For a single second, the stars themselves turned black. Every soldier, every leader, every being felt the same thing in that moment. A deep, crushing fear. Not of death, not of pain, but of being powerless, of standing before something they could never control. When the light returned, the enemy fleets turned, one by one. They ran, ships jumped into hyperspace. Fleets vanished into the dark. No shots fired. No war fought. The battle was over. Before it began, on the Vanguard, Hale whispered, "There, gone." Rayner nodded. They felt it. Hale stared. "Felt what?" The glowing figure answered softly, "The truth." Rayner looked. Out at the stars, the galaxy had trembled in fear, but humanity stood unshaken. The galaxy fell into silence. Fleets that had gathered to destroy humanity were gone, vanished into hyperspace. Not a single shot fired by humans, not a single enemy left behind, but fear didn't vanish. It spread across every world. Every empire, the stories moved faster than light. Tales of a single human ship standing against thousands, of weapons failing, of soldiers dropping in terror. But one thing echoed louder than all stories. The message, no one knew where it came from. No one remembered hearing it. But every leader in the galaxy found the same message waiting for them on their ships, their command centers, even in their dreams. A soft human voice, calm, steady. "We are the line between your fear and your extinction." The words shook the galaxy. On the Krill homeworld, Admiral Zorn stood frozen as the message played again. His officers whispered behind him. It wasn't sent by their fleet. No record of a transmission. Then how? His fists, fear tactics, mind games. But deep inside, even he didn't believe his own words. On the Racker capital, Warlord Tresk smashed the message screen. The words burned into his mind. He growled, "Humans think they control fear. We'll show them real war." But none of his generals moved. They felt the same cold in their hearts. Back on Earth, Rayner stood on the Vanguard's bridge, staring. At his own console, the message glowed on his screen too. Hale stood beside him, his voice low. "Captain, we didn't send this." Rayner nodded. "I know." Hale frowned. "Then who did?" The glowing figure stepped forward. Its soft voice filled the air. "Not us. Not you." Mark spoke over Combs. It's everywhere." "Sir? Every system? Every channel? Even in places we can't reach?" Rayner turned slowly to the figure. "What are you saying?" The figure looked at him, its glowing eyes calm. "The message sent itself." Hale stared. "How is that possible?" The figure smiled softly. "Because it is true." Rayner frowned. "Explain." Figure spoke gently. "The galaxy fears you now, because they fear the truth, that when darkness comes, only humanity stands without fear. You became the warning. You became the line." Rayner felt a cold calm wash over him. Hale whispered, "So, they'll never stop coming." The figure shook its head. "No, they will come. Again and again. But they will never break you, because they know now you do not stand alone." Marx's voice crackled in. "Captain, more reports. Systems from every corner of the galaxy are sending surrender signals." Hale gasped. "Surrender?" Rayner raised an eyebrow. "Why?" Marx answered, voice shaking. "They think we control this force." The figure smiled faintly. "They are not wrong." Rayner looked at the being. "Do we?" The figure stepped closer. "You do not control us. We walk with you. Because you are." "What we were waiting for?" Hale whispered. "Waiting for?" "How long?" The figure answered softly. "Since before fear was born?" The bridge fell silent. Rayner stood still, staring at the message glowing on the screen. He didn't know who wrote it, or how it reached the galaxy. But deep in his heart, he knew it spoke the truth. Humanity had become the line, the last light between the galaxy and something far darker, and they would stand unshaken. The Vanguard drifted alone in space, silent, calm. But inside, something darker moved. Captain Rayner stood on the bridge, eyes on the stars. First Officer Hale worked beside him, scanning reports. The glowing figure watched quietly, its soft light filling the room with a strange peace. But deep in the ship's lower decks, another story unfolded. Engineer Marx moved quickly through the shadows. His heart pounded in his chest. His eyes darted left and right. He held a small device in his hand, smooth black, marked with strange symbols. It wasn't human tech. It wasn't Vanguard tech. It came from someone else. Marx reached a sealed door and tapped in a code. The door opened with a soft hiss. Inside waited a man, Lieutenant Harris. Harris was part of Rayner's crew, trusted, loyal. Or so they thought. Harris didn't smile. His face was hard. "Is it ready?" "Is it ready?" Harris asked. Marx nodded. "It will shut down the Vanguard systems for 30 seconds. Long enough for them to board." Harris gave a sharp nod. "Good, the Council wants this ship. They want the being. And they'll have it." Marx felt a twist in his gut. "You sure this is right?" "We've seen what it can do." Harris stepped forward, voice hard. Exactly. That's why they want it. The Galactic Council won't let humans control this power. We take it now, or we die later." Marx swallowed hard. Harris leaned in. "You did your part. Now finish." Marx hesitated. Then he nodded. Above on the bridge, Hale picked up a strange signal. "Captain, I'm getting a coded message from inside the ship." Rayner's eyes narrowed. "Show me." A soft blink on the screen. Hidden transmission. Hale frowned. "It's a signal to the Galactic Council." Marked his extraction order. Rayner's voice turned sharp. "Who sent it?" Hale tapped keys quickly. His face paled. "Lieutenant Harris." Rayner stared at the screen. And Marx. Before Hale could speak, the ship shook. Systems flickered. Lights dimmed. Hale gasped. Power drop. Internal systems. Shutting down. Rayner moved fast. "Lock down the bridge. Full control the manual." The glowing figure spoke softly. "They have betrayed you." Rayner didn't blink. "I know." In the lower deck, Marx froze as the power around him shifted. His device started to hum, but something felt wrong. Harris growled, "What's happening?" Marx looked at his hand. The device burned hot, then crumbled into dust. A soft voice spoke behind them. "You were warned." They spun around. The glowing figure stood there, its eyes calm, its voice soft. Marks dropped the broken device. How did you? The figure smiled gently. There is no place we cannot be. Harris reached for his weapon. Stay back. The figure stepped closer. You wish to steal what you cannot even understand? Harris screamed and fired. The shot never reached. It vanished mid-air. Harris gasped. As his hand froze, he couldn't move. The figure leaned closer. Its voice dropped to a whisper. You feared us. Then you tried to control us. Now you will learn. Harris's eyes filled with terror. His body shook. Then he vanished. Gone. Not a sound. Not a trace. Marks dropped to his knees. Please, I didn't mean to. The figure touched his shoulder gently. You forgot the first lesson. Marks whispered. What? The figure smiled softly. Loyalty is not built on fear. Marks felt a soft warmth in his chest. His fear faded. The figure spoke again. We are forgiven, rise, and stand with us. On the bridge, Hale watched as the systems came back online. Raynor stared at the screen. Hale whispered, the betrayal. It's over. Glowing figure stepped onto the bridge, calm as ever. It never began. Raynor gave a slow nod. Because fear controls them, but not us. The figure smiled softly. That is why you stand unshaken. Across the stars, whispers of the failed betrayal spread. The galaxy trembled again. Because now, they knew. Even within their own ranks, humans could not be broken. And humanity stood unshaken. The galaxy gathered every ship, every soldier, every weapon. They called it the last war. From the farthest corners of space, fleets moved toward Earth. Krill warships, Racker dreadnoughts, Serati strike cruisers, even old enemies who once fought. Each other now stood united. It was the largest force ever seen in the history of the stars. The plan was simple. Strike fast. Strike together. Overwhelm the humans before they could use whatever dark power they held. On Earth, people looked up at the sky, waiting. The news spread across every human city. The galaxy had come to destroy them, but there was no fear, no panic, because they trusted the Vanguard and the one standing beside it on the Vanguard's bridge. Captain Raynor stood calm, Hale beside him, the glowing figure silent but close. Hale watched the sensors. They're here. Fleets. Entering the solar system, blocking every route. Raynor nodded slowly. Let them. Hal frowned. Sir, this is enough firepower to wipe out 100 planets. Raynor gave a soft smile, but not one heart. Outside, the enemy fleets formed a giant ring around Earth. The commanders gave the order. All ships prepare to fire. Weapons powered. Up, the stars filled with red lights. On the bridge, Hale whispered, This is it. Raynor looked at the glowing figure. You ready? The figure nodded softly. Are you? Raynor smiled. Always. And then it happened. Before the first shot was fired. Every weapon shut down. Every ship's engines died. Shields collapsed. Millions of soldiers stared at blank screens. Dead control panels, dark. Weapons, and then the stars went dark. For 60 full seconds. Nothing, no light, no sound. It was as if the universe itself had stopped breathing. On every command ship, a human figure appeared. Not real. Not a transmission. A vision. A human child. Standing calm. Eyes glowing soft white. And it spoke the same words everywhere. You were warned. Then the stars returned. The weapons powered back on. The ships regained control, but no one fired. Not a single shot. The soldiers couldn't move. Commanders couldn't speak, because they felt something no fleet could fight. A fear deeper than death. On the Vanguard, Hale gasped. What was that? Raynor answered calmly. The war that never happened. Hale looked at him. They won't try again. The glowing figure spoke gently. They cannot. Hale frowned. Why? The figure smiled. Because they saw that truth, the only war they would have fought, was against themselves. Out in space, the massive fleets began to turn. One by one, the warships retreated, not from defeat, but from understanding. Raynor watched the stars as the fleets vanished. The war that was supposed to end humanity never began, and humanity stood unshaken. The war fleets left. The stars returned to peace, but the question remained. Why? Why did the galaxy fear humans? Why did the darkness stand beside them? Why did the enemy always fall without a fight? Captain Raynor stood on the bridge of the Vanguard, staring into space. The glowing figure stood beside him, silent as always. "First Officer Hale whispered, "Captain, it's over." Raynor shook his head slowly. "No, it's just beginning." Hale frowned. "They've retreated. They won't come again." Raynor turned to him. "They will, but not with weapons, not with war." Hale looked confused. "Then how?" The glowing figure spoke softly. "They will come." "With questions?" Hale blinked. "Questions?" The figure nodded. "Because now they want to understand why they could not win." Raynor looked at the figure. "We will tell them." The figure turned to Raynor, its glowing eyes soft. "It is time you know the truth too." Raynor raised an eyebrow. "We're ready." The figure gave a small smile. "No, you always were." The stars outside shifted. A soft light filled the bridge, and in that moment, the truth came clear. The being was not a weapon. It's not an alien force. It's not a tool created by humans. It was a memory. A memory left inside the heart of humanity from the beginning of time. A guardian born with them. Not a protector of planets, but of spirit. The voice echoed inside every mind on the ship. "You were made with fear and with courage, but only you chose never to be ruled by fear. That is why we walk with you." Raynor felt a calm peace in his chest. Hale whispered, "We carried this inside us all along." The figure smiled gently. "Yes, you were never alone. You never needed saving. You are the saviors." Mark spoke overcomes, his voice soft. "Act! Then why now? Why reveal this now?" The figure answered, "Because the galaxy forgot what courage looks like." Raynor gave a soft nod, and we reminded them. The figure looked at him. "You reminded them you stood. When all others fell, you held the line. You became the line. Across the stars, the message spread. It's not in fear, not in warning, but in hope." The galaxy learned that the humans did not control some dark force. The humans were the force, the unshaken line, the courage that would never break. On the bridge of the Vanguard, Raynor gave his final order. "Let them come. We'll stand, as we always have." Hale smiled, unshaken. The figure gave a soft bow. "And we will stand with you, always." The stars shone brighter. The galaxy changed forever, and humanity stood unshaken.